Hello and welcome to Makers.dev, episode number 79 with special guest Johnny Tong. Johnny, we've missed so much great stuff already in our preamble chat up to this. How's it going? What are you up to? Why are you here talking to us? And who are you? That was six questions at
Hello.
once, but pick whichever one you want to answer.
Hello. My name is Johnny Tong, as Christian mentioned. I am here because I initially reached out to Chris, who was gracious enough to uh, be really generous with his time. So we recorded a podcast for my podcast, which is called Buy, Grow, Repeat. I am a SaaS founder and started a podcast, uh, which was all because of you, Christian, because um, I reached out to you about following this podcast in particular, and talking to you about what I've been up to. And you said, "Hey, I would love to listen to a podcast if you decide to start one." So I said, "Okay, well, that just lit a fire in me." So that's how my podcast, Buy, Grow, Repeat, got started.
That makes me feel so good. I'm so happy to have inspired you. I'm so glad that you're a listener. And I've listened to several episodes of Buy, Grow, Repeat. They're very good. I'm very happy that you're producing, and I wish more people would be doing that sort of thing of talking about what they're working on. I will say I haven't listened to most of them, but it's not because I don't like it. It's because I stopped listening to podcasts. I'm like taking more notes and generating more things myself. So yeah, we'd love to help you. Chris, can you read the message, or at least say from memory, of what Johnny messaged you of how he would like help? Because I
Uh,
was interested in his phrasing.
yeah, it was something like, "Can you do for me what you do to Christian, which is slap the nonsense out of him or something like that?" I don't, or
Yes.
get rid of the distractions. I don't remember the
Yes.
wording, but yeah, it's basically
Yes. So,
aggressively help.
Johnny, my understanding is you are in a very similar position to me right now of like having a whole bunch of stuff that you're focused on. Not sure what the next thing you want to be working on is. And I think you just want to like lay out what your choices are, and then Chris and I, probably mostly Chris, can be sort of like your boss as a service and give you some advice and direction of what it seems like the best way to go forward is. Does that sound right?
Yeah, exactly. So my phrasing was, "Can I get some Chris as a service?" And
Chris as a
yeah,
service.
yes, I was thinking, what's gonna be the landing page gonna be like? Probably with a big Chris saying something with his hot takes, some famous quotes. Yeah, I so Buy Grow Repeat is around the journey, just very similar to Makers.dev. I recorded with our co-host Matt. So we both acquired businesses from online businesses. He's a WordPress expert. Interestingly, he recently just sold uh, his WordPress plugin. For me, it's more a traditional Rails app. It's called SurveyBot, which I acquired a little over a year ago, and we've been documenting the journey in terms of the negotiation, which isn't really talked about that much. How things get transferred over, um, migration, the difficulty of understanding uh, taking over an app versus kind of building something from scratch, which it, has a lot more content, right? Of these solo founders, software developers having an idea and building it and trying to grow that. With buying and with vetting is a slightly different process. I mean, there's a lot of similarities. After you acquired it, you try to grow it, but it's somewhat different. So we're trying to bring some insight and perspective from that angle.
Okay, so to try to repeat that back, the podcast by Grow Repeat is mostly focused on how you and Matt are acquiring businesses to grow them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, your particular project in that, which is something that you made, is SurveyBot. You made SurveyBot.
No. I acquired it,
You
and
acquired it. Okay.
yeah, a year ago. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
And
And
then
Matt did the same for his. So he kind of went full circle. He acquired it about 2 years ago. His WordPress plugin grew it, and then recently, well, just in the past week, just sold it for pretty good return.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Is that your goal as well, to grow SurveyBot so that you can sell it, or do you want to grow it and then run it?
Well, I always want to keep my options open. So everything that I buy, even things that I build, I try to build them in a way that is sellable. That is, if someone decides to knock on my door, that is ready to be sold. So I'm trying to keep those best practices in place. Keeping accounts separate, Stripe accounts, keeping different Gmail accounts or G Suite accounts, so that if someone wants to buy something from me, I don't have to go through the credit card and kind of split out all the different expenses, which I think Chris has mentioned when
That's what I did.
Yeah.
So what are you here for help with today? Is it SurveyBot?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that might not been talked about a lot is sort of this. Most of the stuff is mental, right? It's being able to describe a problem to someone else as a solo business owner or solo founder, just being in your own head. Because I think there's like a ton of information if you want to look at to learn about SEO marketing or conversion optimization, code, customer support, hiring, contractors. All of this stuff could be probably learned on YouTube or blog posts. I think a lot of it comes down to when you're solo business operator on a Monday morning, you wake up and you're looking at all these support requests, or you're looking at your conversion funnel not up to not really optimized. Like, how do you approach fixing things in what order? And I think that's kind of what I get a lot out of when you're talking to Christian, and when Christian is talking to you, Chris, right? Is that clarity, that mental clarity that comes out of that. And I really, and the reason why I reached out is because, well, I think probably for the previous 2, 3, 4 episodes, I think there were these moments where I go, wow, there's a lot of clarity that got brought out. Usually it's on Christian side, because you seem to have a ton of energy, a ton of ideas, and Chris would just walk through what you're going through and give it to you straight, right? Where well, that's a huge distraction. This is a great idea, but you shouldn't be doing it. So I'm just kind of looking for some of that. I don't know, call it wait, what is it? What's the mastermind? Yeah, call it a mastermind, private mastermind group, or consulting Chris as a service, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to look for, or rubber ducking the problem.
Let's do it. Let's do it. What's the problem? It sounds like things are going pretty well. You've got a podcast talking about how you're buying these businesses and growing them and selling them, and you have things structured in a way so that you're doing these best practices to be able to sell them and keeping all your finances separate. Sounds like SurveyBot's going pretty well, and you've got other projects going on. How would you like your life to be different than it is right now?
Well, it's actually not going really well. So SurveyBot, I've acquired it for a year, and I mean, the revenue has been pretty flat. So I think I really need to clear up my mind so that I can look at what to do next. Right now, the conversion funnel, I feel, is somewhat broken. I think there are a host of issues, and I'm looking to share what I'm seeing in the funnel and see how Chris would approach it, or Christian, you would approach it in terms of prioritizing, in terms of what to do next if you were my managers. So
Okay. Let's start with can we start with a high level overview of what SurveyBot is, like what its features are, and then who buys it, like what type of people use it.
Great, yeah. So SurveyBot is a platform that makes it easy to conduct surveys on Facebook Messenger. There's also another segment of customers using Facebook Workplace, which is sort of a competitor to Microsoft Teams. So two large segments. And there are subsegments. So some Facebook Messenger is used for lead generation. So it connects to a Facebook page. A bot could be created via SurveyBot. It gets linked to a Facebook page, and when someone messages your business Facebook page, a survey could be run and collect responses. So
just for that one person, or for like the whole page?
For the whole page, basically.
Okay.
So when you're talking to the page, you're actually talking to a bot, and the bot's purpose is to run through the survey. I mean, you can design different bots, but SurveyBot's purpose is to do that. And so Facebook's platform is sort of being used by SurveyBot to help non-technical users, let's say, as a no-code solution to create a bot. So there are people doing lead generation. There are marketing agencies using that to do their market research, because they're looking for people to collect survey responses to. So these marketing agencies could be, or research agencies could be in academia, they could be in political campaigns, or let's say brand research.
Are these big companies buying it, or small companies buying it, or like one person on a team buying it?
It's a diverse group, let's say. These research agencies could be, global research agencies. There are also sort of single consulting firm, so that owner could be trying to use Facebook Messenger to qualify leads. Yeah, but I would say those are not really good customers, I guess, because those are harder to onboard. This is more like anecdotal data. Yeah, it just seems that they're not a really good customer segment, at least for now. So I'm leaning towards those research agency groups, because they would constantly have these have a need. And also the other group would be the Facebook Workplace companies, because they would sign on. They might want to do every quarter a survey on employee satisfactions if you're in a Fortune 500, Fortune 1000 company. Probably it's leaning towards the smaller ones. Probably not like Fortune 500, because those, it becomes a harder sell. Right now, the whole thing is self onboarded, especially on the Facebook Workplace side, because people, if they're using Facebook Workplace, then it's part of the marketplace.
Okay, is that the primary way that people find you on the marketplace?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, and are there other competitors that do this too? Like, how many other survey bots are there?
Yeah, so the competitors are not exactly using Facebook Messenger. These could be more traditional HR solutions where, so this is talking about the Facebook Workplace side. These companies could be more traditional HR tools where an HR department would use a tool to not just collect data via these surveys, but also set OKRs, have a template for managers to use to manage goals for different teams. And yeah, so that's, I would say, it's not a is not directly doing what SurveyBot is doing, but it's what people use as a substitute. It's more, and then on the other side as well, there's obviously Typeform, Google Forms. You can always use a forum to do these type of surveys. The difference is that, well, you're not really tapped into the Messenger user experience, because you have to go through, they have to jump to another website to accomplish that task.
Okay. So I have more questions I could ask you, but the first thing that I'm thinking is, I haven't looked at your site yet, but is any of this written down on your site? So for example, for Acorn Chat, I just went through April Dunford's process of like making a buyer's guide, basically, where you specifically talk about competitors, and you talk about, like you just told us, why it's different than Google Forms, why it's better, and then how it's different from the HR solutions, how it's maybe not better, but just a different use case. So yeah, is that on your site anywhere, or do you have content around that?
No. So
Okay.
my content marketing is definitely lacking at this point. It's been something that I've been having trouble kind of putting my finger on, focusing on one customer segment. Like I tend to flip-flop between different things, right? Depending on what the latest customer support requests are. So
Yeah.
I relate to that. Yep.
yeah. So what in that sense, I definitely have seen your page after you put together that guide. Like for example, one of the first questions you asked was, do you use Slack, right? I think that's one of the most
Right.
obvious question for Acorn Chat, right? And then if yes, then do you have fewer than 15 employees, or some questions like that, right? So how would you when you mentioned that, how are you thinking of applying the SurveyBot? Is it these like alternative pages, alternative to, or
You could do that if you have nothing. I would start with a slightly more generic thing, like what would I do? I would definitely get some information, like, because when people, if I were to hit this page, I would say, well, I could just use a Google Sheet, right? So why wouldn't I just do that? And so let's see, what would I do? Christian, you want to jump in here while I'm thinking about stuff?
Yeah, I think I would focus on the job they're trying to get done. So what I'm hearing from your descriptions is there's two categories of people who need to get surveys done. The first is like lead gen and market analysis, where people are doing cold outreach to people through Facebook. And the second is employee satisfaction surveys. It sounds like for people who are on some sort of Facebook business thing that I don't understand, but it sounds like that it's like a business who already has employee accounts, and they manage the rest of their business HR stuff through Facebook. So for each of those things, getting, well, let's tackle one of them at a time. If I'm trying to get employee satisfaction surveys, the question that I would want answered from you is, what's the best product for me to get my employee satisfaction surveys? That's the ultimate thing I'm trying to do. I'm trying to see how satisfied are my employees, and I want to know. I don't know anything about employee satisfaction surveys and what the software looks like, other than this is a thing that I want because it's important for me to see if my employees feel satisfied. I would love to go to a landing page or watch a video made by you that said, hey, you're trying to do employee satisfaction surveys. That's great. It's great because when you know how satisfied your employees are, you can better manage your human resource assets. And that's going to save you so much time and money, and like people quitting and you didn't know that they were so dissatisfied for so long. And think of how much money you'll save by not having to hire recruiters and things. Okay, we've established we're on the same page. You understand me and why I'm trying to get employee satisfaction surveys. Now I want you to walk me through, like, how do you pick an employee satisfaction survey? This is a very complicated landscape, and you could do it wrong. First of all, do you have some sort of an internal way to do surveys already? Because if you do, it's probably going to be the easiest thing to do that. The question I'd be most interested in, I know nothing about this space, but I'm curious why this would be better than email. Why should I send my employee satisfaction survey through Facebook instead of just sending everyone a mass email to an Airtable form or a Google Sheet form or something else? What does SurveyBot do that helps me better that helps a particular type of customer, that why the Facebook message would be better?
Because they're already on it. It's sort of like, if a company is already using Slack, then having a channel and having a bot right there, it's easier than you can always Slack them a link to a Google form, to a type form, but it's not. At the end of the day, you still have to do the collection anyway. You have to go to another user interface. So having all the employees already on that chat platform, some people like it because they feel that there's no hop right from within what's familiar to some other website.
Love it. Yeah, great answer. So one of the pieces of advice that you can give to employers who are trying to navigate this complicated map of how to get employee satisfaction surveys is you can tell them, hey, if your employees are already on Facebook Messenger, SurveyBot's going to be the easiest way for you to go forward, because it's going to be zero friction for your employees. You're going to get a really high response rate. You can send it much more frequently because it's just going to come up in the messaging app that they already have open. And then you'll be able to get instant results. And then, like Chris walked through with his analog of this for Acorn Chat, be honest about like who this is not for. If your team lives in Slack, this is not for you. Maybe research a little bit like what a better survey platform tool would be for people who are in Slack. Or if your company lives in email, this is not a tool for you. Yeah, that's the sort of thing I'd be looking for. And I think you can apply the same sort of process to people doing surveys and lead gen. Like if your customers, if the people who you're trying to get information from are living on Facebook, if they're all, chuggy moms, this is the best way for you to do that sort of market research.
Yeah, so I'm taking a look at your site now, actually, and you actually have a lot of information on here. It's actually really good. One thing, let's see. Do people who are coming to the site already know what chatbots are, and do they already know what surveys are?
Yes, so they do know, because I think the SEO term that is the best optimized is basically SurveyBot or survey chatbot. That tends to get quite a bit of traffic. So I think the intent is already there. That's where the majority of traffic is coming from.
Okay, so you already have traffic. Do you know where people are falling off, like how far they get into the process?
Well, that comes down to, I guess, looking at the funnel and seeing whether it's optimized or not. So right now, the way to convert them right now, because it's a freemium model, so they can just log in or sign up for an account with no credit card required. And that, let's see, I'm just trying to pull up the percentage there. So I would say it's around still like a single digit percentage conversion in terms of.
From free to paid, or from?
No, from traffic to sign up for free for an account. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's reasonable. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Depending on your source of traffic, single digit conversion can be okay. Yeah. If it's super high intent and you're only getting single digit, then that might be too low. But if it's like general visitors, all visitors, and you're getting single percentages, then that's probably okay. I mean, it may not feel okay, but I think that's expected anyway.
Yeah. I feel it's, yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I think it's more about the sign up to paid. So basically they've signed up and they probably are starting to create a survey. So I mean, some of these accounts, I noticed that they don't really even create a survey. So I don't know, maybe it could be bots, it could be people just are curious. They're just curious of what this thing is, and they don't mind giving up their email, so they would come in and then be done with it.
Have you tried any like reach out to any of these people? So have you like sent a personalized oh yeah, this is something that you could do. Have you sent personalized emails saying like, hi Sue, saw you signed up, I'm the founder, and if you need anything let me know, at least that, if not more direct, like if you want to book a call or something like that with a link?
Yeah, I did, and I don't get a lot of responses on those things.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm starting to wonder whether actually the quality of the traffic, whether a lot of it is just bots trying to I don't know, like do something funky.
Could be, yeah.
It's surprising to me. You said most people who sign up don't create a survey. Is that right?
Uh, I would say 50-50. Yeah, it's 50-50. And then sometimes they would create a survey, but then it's possible that they're struggling with hooking up to their Facebook page. I would see sometimes where a survey is created, so they because in terms of creating a survey, it's single player mode, so it's easy to create a survey and just see how it works. And there's a WYSIWYG editor, which is easy for them to look at, preview the survey. But then after that, I don't see a lot of responses, and I think that's the tripwire, right? That is that once they hit a 50 responses, then it actually will ask them for their credit card. So if they don't even have any responses, I wonder like what's happening. Even if they try to preview to try to fill out the survey themselves, that would be a single response. So perhaps even for those people that are creating a survey, that traffic quality could be low, that people are just trying to play around with different things online.
One thing I would do there then, I mean, I would do a few things, I suppose. And I'm going to give you lots of ideas and give you even more ideas than you have, which is not a good thing maybe. But I would definitely do an onboarding sort of thing where you watch someone actually use your product for the first time. However you can, like friends or, whoever. It could be a real customer or it could just be a friend. And you'll probably learn a lot. So like it sounds like there might be some like things that are tripping people up. So I would do that. I would also, if you're unsure about how many signups are bots, you can find out relatively easily by putting like honeypot fields in your signup form and things like that. So I would do that. And if you don't know what that is, I can help you out with that. But yeah, then you'll at least know how many are bots. I was gonna say something else. Oh yeah, I would also like if you're finding through your onboarding thing that like a lot of people are creating a survey and like they're having trouble putting it on their page, then I would definitely, for all those little trip up points, I would have automated email triggers. I don't know what your backend is, but if it's easy enough to say like this person created a survey and then one day later it's not on any pages, then send them an email saying I see you have some trouble. Is there anything I can help with?
Yeah.
Those are some of my ideas.
You can use user list for that sort of automated product.
Yeah.
I have a suggestion. So I just went through your onboarding as we were talking about this, and it felt frictiony in a way that I can't quite describe. I think the thing that I'm hunting for is when I'm going to have some sort of an intent when I'm searching for this thing of like, I want to conduct a user satisfaction survey, or I want to do an employee satisfaction survey. I want to be able to land on a page where you're able to tell me, hey, you're trying to do an employee satisfaction survey. That's good because this is the benefit that it gets you. Here are the questions that you should probably ask in an employee satisfaction survey. Number 1, are you satisfied? Number 2, are you dissatisfied? I don't know what you put on this. And I want to be able to edit those things, but have it pre-filled out for me. Just like right there in the landing page, I want to change what the thing says. So like maybe customize it with my business name or something. And then I want a big green button that says launch survey. And when I click that button, I want it to say, one more step, we just need your email and password because you don't have an account yet. And then I want to type that in and then say go. And then I want it to say, great, you can preview it here. And then I saw you have that little 2-step thing where you have to like authenticate it through Messenger, and then I actually get it. But then, the third step would be take this form yourself to make sure everything's working. And then the fourth step would be like, however I deploy this, however I actually send this out. But what I would want to see is doing the user user testing for onboarding, like Chris is saying. I want to be able to see that someone could go from landing on the page to deploying that survey with no prompting of like being shown how to do stuff ahead of time within 5 minutes. I want to see that they can land on the page and then deploy it and get their first survey result. And it wouldn't take a lot. It's just like moving things around as they currently are in your onboarding. But that, I think, would reduce a lot of the friction that you're seeing. And then in the sales funnel, it's really surprising to me that fewer than 50% of people create a survey. That seems that like I'm wondering if there's a bug or something where if they're on a certain size of screen, they're not able to see the field to be able to create it or something.
Yeah, that's true.
I was gonna say what Christian suggested is a pretty good idea. Like if people see a blank text field, then they like might freak out and like not do anything. But if they see what type of survey are you trying to create, user satisfaction, employee satisfaction, like have like 5 different options, and then a like custom or blank, start with a blank one, then that'll get past that blank text field thing because they just click on the button because they know what kind of survey they want to do.
Which he does have. Once you're through the onboarding, there's 4 different categories of pre-filled ones: lead generation, customer feedback, market research, and trivia. I just want to see those pulled into the landing page.
Got it.
I want that information like moved 2 steps before I create the account.
I see.
Right. Hey, so Christian, did you mean moving even the creation step ahead of the account creation? Or even user creation in this case. So
yes.
They're creating. Okay, that could be interesting.
Which like it's not actually creating. Just save it in like local storage, and then hide that in the form when they're creating the account. And then when you actually create the account, create it with the first field. Going through a little bit more of this onboarding, I didn't realize there were 5 steps to be able to create the survey. For their first one, there's all these settings of like, what do you do if someone revisits your survey after starting it? For my very first survey, I don't care. That's like advanced settings. That like don't show me this for my very first one.
Yeah.
And then you have reminders. Like just give me a sane default, and then don't have me fill this in. Don't even show this to me. And then campaigns. I think I'm confused what this is. I can pay for this to be a Facebook ad. I don't know what campaigns does. But I think whatever it is, like I think I don't care about it for my very first survey. For the very first thing, for like the very first onboarding, get me to the value as quickly as possible. Get me a response from a person, also with a minimal set of questions. Something else I noticed was there were like 9 or 10 questions in the survey that I picked. Make me a survey with like 3 questions and get me there within 5 minutes of signing up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, I think one of the challenges which I've never faced is when you are building something on your own, every single corner, right, of the app. I feel when I've inherited this, I'm still learning things, and it feels scary to sort of deprecate things and remove things because you're wondering whether you would ever need them. Because I think in terms of when I acquired it, I thought this was a good valued acquisition because in fact I think there's way too much stuff. I feel this product could be even simplified by removing certain things, and it would reveal some of the value, like just it feels like on this call, one of the first thing I should do, or one of the things I should ignore, is certain customer segments should be ignored for now and just focus on for example, this Facebook Workplace segment, because it's already part of a marketplace, right? It's very similar to Acorn Chat, where I'm already on this um, uh, exclusive marketplace and as a Facebook partner, and just try to figure out a way to smooth out the onboarding process and to see, even if people don't convert, what are the reasoning? Is it because, well, in the end, they figure something that's missing that SurveyBot is just not able to fulfill, and then if I can figure that part out, at least I can decide to pivot or not at that point, rather than now I'm just kind of spread all over the place.
Yeah. And there's, I think, two things you could do to help. Like, so I heard that you're like afraid to touch things and stuff. So one thing would be add more instrumentation to it. So like know how many things are bots, know where people fall off, know like even just like how many people actually use this feature. So like you talked about advanced features, try to either write some queries or maybe you have to add some things to like see if people even hit pages. And then the second thing is, if you're afraid of removing things because people use them, you can always just hide them behind like an advanced features field. So like like Christian said, you want your main flow to be super simple, like as simple as possible. And then everything else can be a configuration setting on like a more hidden page.
Yeah, like for example, this when Christian says that these advanced, I totally agree. Those advanced settings for campaigns and after the fact, if I decide to remove them, then there could be different consequences that I'm not even aware of right now. So part of it is to figure out, well, should I figure out like a A/B, it's almost like an A/B test where there's a B flow. So when I'm testing my marketing copy with the jobs to be done, the job specific page, similar to what Chris talked about in April's Dunford's talk, go through that marketing page, which leads to the B flow onboarding, and then, but it just feels like, yeah, it's just feels like kind of complicated to, because you're almost like adding on more complexity in the immediate term, and then you're trying to figure out your answers and then try to go back and clean it up, right?
If you're talking about A/B testing landing pages or A/B testing like user flow, you don't need to do that. Like a simpler.
No. But it's some, there are certain things that might look sort of simple on the front end where, oh, why don't you remove this step? But I think some of the settings, once they're removed, then this whole sort of survey lifecycle in the back end becomes unpredictable, because then I have to start tracing out the code, right, to figure out like why something isn't working. And yeah. But it's something that I'll have to look into anyway. So yeah, it's something that I'll have to look into.
Yeah, that is a tricky problem. That's not what I'm familiar with. Like, I guess all my stuff I just make, so like doing backend changes is trivially easy for me. I don't think the solution is going to look like removing the feature. I think it's going to look like hiding it and then just you insert your default for what it is. So that could be as simple as some JavaScript that like does the CSS hide on the different pages, and then make sure that your default values are entered in there, and then clicks next, and then you show a graph of like, we're setting up your account. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about. I think it could all be done with JavaScript without knowing too much about the internals of the backend.
So we've talked a lot about, let's see, onboarding, user experience. In your initial sort of message to me, you wanted to, I think, talk about, what was it, conversion or traffic? What do you think is like the thing that you wanted to talk about the most?
Everything.
Not sure. Everything. Okay.
Everything.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think I'm just in this sort of information overload. I'm in a somewhat, I have to be honest, I'm in a somewhat frozen state, because there are all these different, well, number one is I inherited the entire application, and there are still parts that I feel um, that I'm uncomfortable changing. So I think on the surface, I can see logically why, oh yeah, there's certain parts of the onboarding, yeah, you can just rip this out, make it simple, make sure the shortest path to value is clear to who is new to this app. But I think on the other hand, there are technology problems on the back end um, that I think it's just mainly just spending time trying to figure it out. Um, Doing more support tickets will help me understand the app better. There's the market understanding. There is uh, copywriting, making sure that I can pick out one specific job or one specific customer segment and do testing. Uh, and then there's also SEO optimization. Um, yeah, so it's just a basket of things, and I think so. So in a sense, I think the call that I wanted is more meta. Is as a founder, how would you approach this if you were my manager? Like how would you suggest that I ignore certain things and not touch those things?
Yeah, I would say that so you have traffic. Maybe it's not as high as you want, but you have it. It's also converting. Maybe not as much as you want, but it is converting. Or well, maybe I'll ask that question. Is it converting? You said it's flat. So are you churning and converting at about the same rate, or what's the problem there?
Yeah, so it's not converting very well. I mean, it's fairly low. It's again sign ups to paid is in the single digits conversion. So I'm looking at um, I feel yeah, I feel for something like this where I think the value prop is quite clear. It's not a it doesn't require any sort of tight integration, right? It doesn't require a non-technical user to go into their server and insert like a JavaScript snippet. It's simply just clicking on and connecting to their Facebook page. I feel yeah, the conversion is still low, so I need to somehow fix this to get this back on track.
Okay. Yeah. So what I'm hearing is like you're sort of afraid to touch parts of it because you inherited the code base. You haven't maybe gone through all of the bits in detail. And so even if you have good ideas about what to fix, I think you are sort of nervous about touching the bits of code. So this is actually one rare case where I might say that you need to do some coding instead of marketing.
Oh, Chris, you never tell me that.
No, I don't. But I guess I'd recommend a dual track. One is like you can still do high level stuff like get a friend and watch them get onboarded, and you can talk to people in your market, right? So you can still do that kind of stuff. But I would only approach those calls right now to learn generally and not try to come away with any specific messaging. And then at the same time, I would look at your backend. So go through every single file and every single line of code. If you feel like writing tests might be a good way to like make sure that you understand things. And then you could also add some instrumentation to see like how many people actually, or run some queries to like see how many people actually use all the features. And so what those two things together will do is get you a better understanding of the market and your flow, the onboarding flow, and where things might be falling down, and get a better understanding of the technology at the same time. And so like none of that's like a deliverable. And so maybe that's why you feel frozen, because that feels like you might be spinning your wheels. But as you get more more knowledge about your back end and about your market, you're going to naturally have lots of ideas about what to do to fix it. So that's what I say. It sounds like you're frozen because I think you think like learning the back end might be a waste of time, or you're, I don't know. I don't want to speak for you, but
yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head, right? Like that is definitely like the moment of clarity for me is that whenever I'm opening up like a text editor, I would feel this kind of voice in me, right, telling me that hey, why are you wasting your time? Go out and talk to users, try to figure out a way so that they will respond to your email, um, um, try to look at the marketing copy, right? Try to fix the top of the funnel or middle part of the funnel versus doing yeah rather than doing the coding.
I think if you you've probably heard this talk before, but so if you go listen to Rob Walling's talk about, I think it was when he acquired .NET Invoice, like he did all that marketing stuff, but first he spent like 3 months fixing the code. So like the first thing he did was like writing the ship, the code ship, and it sounds like maybe you haven't done the deep technical dive yet. That would help, I think.
Yeah, and I think a part of it is also DevOps challenges. That's one of the surprises that I got. So I initially hired the original founder of the app. So the app was it's about 5 years old. So initially, when like chatbots was all the rage, the initial founder created it, and then I think around 18 months later, he sold it to another larger company. And that company didn't really do much with it, so let it just sat there. It still generated revenue. I think they did a bunch initially, and then they just they just want to get rid of it, and that's when I came in. So the when I hired the original founder, he moved it to a different infrastructure on AWS, and I think that also increases sort of the technical knowledge required, because now there are like Docker images involved, there are like different services involved, which I haven't really touched for a long time, and they're all new. There are all these new things right coming up. So I think that increase also the burden on just maintaining something, just keeping it up and running. If I need to update a package, just having to go through that continuous delivery or continuous integration cycle is quite challenging for me.
I have an insane suggestion that I just have to get out there. What if you recoded
serverless? Serverless?
Could be serverless. You want to make it serverless. What if you recode it from scratch?
For sure. I think we should definitely just start from scratch, and I'll be
for real though. Like, if I'm hearing there's a lot of friction in the way this was made from a DevOps perspective. They're using Docker containers. You don't like Docker containers. You're a developer. You have your own ways that you like, things that you're familiar with.
For sure. Yeah.
What if you just this? It's not like you're creating the entire app from scratch. Like, you can reuse all the views. What the rough app layout is. None of these features are like ill-defined. If you want to, you can use the same language, so you can like copy over the API stuff. But in the process of doing that, you will also do what Chris is suggesting, which is reading through all the different code. Like, you will have touched all the different parts of it, and then at the end of that, you'll have this rock solid thing that's been rewritten, that is something that you totally understand, that works with the DevOps structure that you like and that you understand. And then you can go forward on marketing full force. And when you hear a suggestion like, well, what if you move the survey creation to before the user creation? When you hear something like that after you've recoded the entire thing and you understand the entire code base, you'd be like, oh yeah, because that would be, if I just move this thing over there, then yeah, that would totally work. Chris, tell me I'm crazy. Tell me this is a bad idea.
Well, you are, but
oh no. I was hoping for that. Maybe.
I mean, it depends on how big the app is. It also depends on what language is it written in?
Rails.
Rails. And if you built a new app today, what would you use?
Yeah, probably. So it's probably do it in JavaScript. Because I think the parts of it, I think one of the issues that the original founder told me was this response time, which I think I've brought it up to you as well, that sometimes you could hit a very popular Facebook page, and then I think messages started to drop. So there's this ongoing issue that has never really been fixed because it was on this old infrastructure. So when he moved this to the new infrastructure, he thought it was going to fix the problem, but I still think it could be an issue just because of how like the characteristics of the usage, right? Where you can where someone can send out 10,000 surveys in the same window, and then it would just crash the things. Messages started to drop, and it doesn't even gracefully degrade. I heard, yeah, from because I did some I did some interview with previous customers when I took over.
Christian's about to suggest serverless.
I'm about to suggest serverless. That's why I love serverless so much. It automatically scales. It's so fast.
I know. Yeah, I know. I yeah. In my dreams, I have thought about doing that, and then I wake up and it was just a dream.
Is this your full-time thing? Are you trying to do this full-time, or is this like one of many projects?
Yeah. So I think that's another sort of mental hurdle that I'm trying to get over. Is that initially, when I found this, I thought, oh, this is like a fairly mature thing. The price was right, and I wanted to, well, buy, grow, repeat, right? So when started to hire outside contractors to maintain this, so that I can focus on the sales and the marketing, and then look for the next app, right? But it got to a point where this is like my first, the first app, and it's more challenging than I anticipated. So I'm sort of in this spot where I also have someone who is investing in this model, right? Where we want to be able to have sort of a portfolio of small, well-built, well-run app. So in a sense, there's this feeling of I can't let this go until the first app is is proven. This model is proven with when n equals 1. So there's that as well, and I think there's also a lot of kind of self-talk and to figuring out, well, if this is already something, the first one is supposed to be a smaller one than compared to eventually want to buy like bigger apps, then how do I even scale this if this is already quite a bit of a struggle?
Yeah, I can see that. I mean, it's tricky. When you think about this idea of this portfolio of small apps or portfolio of apps, who do you see maintaining all of that? Do you see yourself doing it, or this other investor, or do you see you hiring people? Like, how does that work in your mind?
Yeah, I'll be hiring people. So it will be hiring contractors and customer support people, and well, part of the thing is that it has to be the app has to be good enough, right? That it can't be kind of falling down all the time, or like the business can't be shifting all the time where someone is trying to actively pivot all the time, right? There has to be some stability. So in a sense, I'm thinking in terms of evaluating, well, is this just an outlier where if I can do another deal, perhaps a bigger deal, it will be, some of these problems will be gone, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's always going to be problems with apps. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
So it's good that you're doing it on small scale first, I would say. Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, I think you have to. It sounds like you have to figure out what you want to do with it. If you want to try to sell it, then I would focus on the marketing and the onboarding. So learn just enough about the code base to figure out how to simplify the onboarding, how to, then that's when you can start talking about like, maybe running ads or something to show that you can drive traffic to it, and then turn around and sell it. But if you want to keep it as in your portfolio, then I want you to be really comfortable with the backend, you know. So that either means investing in doing it in Rails, so like really learning the Rails code base, or maybe you start redoing it. If you do redo it, I wouldn't try to do it all at once. I would do the very simplest thing that you could do. But yeah, like if you want to keep it and run it for a long time, I think you have to be comfortable with the backend, which it sounds like you're not right now. So
the simplest thing you could do in that, by the way, is just make an app that just does onboarding, and then the end result of that app is just whatever the smallest amount of data you need to be able to create an account in the actual app, and then you just make a bridge between those two.
Yeah, just populate the database and then jump to the other app. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
What do you feel like doing? What does your brain tell you is the best thing to do?
Well, I'm aware that there's probably a lot of what's it called, sunk cost fallacy, right? That I'm trying to.
Yeah.
It's possible that I'm chasing after all the sunk costs, right, and all this time that's been put in, right, and it's looking, vetting different deals and ending up on this one. So, and also there's a lot of perhaps I'm also anchored to the positive feedback that I got from previous customers that I would interview, and they're excited to hear that, oh, there's a new person who's in charge, and there are all these things. There's certain things that are broken, could be fixed by this new person coming in. So as a builder, I'm always trying to fix things, right? It interests me to fix things. Serverless. I actually I was thinking about, this like a messaging app. Oh, maybe I should look into Elixir and Phoenix. That is the perfect mental model for something like this.
I would avoid using new technology, but that's
yeah. But at the end of the day, I think I also have to be responsible to the person who's putting in the money, right? To evaluate with a different lens, right, from the investor's point of view. So, yeah, I want to set a timeline to clear my head, to try to fix certain parts of it, just like you said, Chris, on the marketing side, making sure it's clear, and try to see. Well, there's traffic is constant to the page, so that's good. But at least can I fix the conversion part? Then I can have a clear mindset to see what is the next step, or whether the next step would be to sell this.
Yeah. The other thing you could do, so we're almost out of time, but I'll leave you with one more thing, which is, it sounds like you're having some difficulty with investing time in the certain areas, probably because you're a little frozen and you're already used to hiring contractors. One cheap way to do this is, instead of hiring the contractor to fix the thing, you can hire professionals to come in. So like you could hire a really senior Rails dev to come in and just look at the code, right? Spend like a day on it, right? Might cost you, I don't know, $1,000 or whatever. And then give like basically a report to you. So like, do a screen share for an hour and walk through the biggest problem areas that, they find, their general feelings and stuff like that. Then you can do the same thing for onboarding. Find an onboarding specialist, just pay for a day of their time and have them walk you through it. And then do the same thing for, marketing copy. And so it's like, after, 4 or 5 days of paying professionals, you can have like a really holistic lens of everything in your app. And it's cheap. It's a lot cheaper than asking them to fix the thing. It's just asking them to look at it.
Yeah. And that was the motivation for the message sent to you, Chris.
Okay, great. And I did it for free, so there you go.
Even more clever. We talked a lot about like the technical things and like the individual advice of how we might improve onboarding, but Johnny, you keep pulling it back to like this idea of mind frame and like motivation. I'm curious if there's a deeper thing going on here. Sounds like there's a complicated, perhaps a complicated motivation between you and your investor, that like maybe you feel some pressure to make this perform, and maybe feel like guilty that it hasn't. And maybe some of the paralysis you're feeling is that you've tried a few things and none of them have worked, and you're just not feeling motivated to push this forward in any respect, and you're waiting for like a really clear thing that like this is the obvious thing to do to make this make more money. I'm not sure what my question is, but what's your understanding of like your emotional relationship with this project? Why, like, nothing that I think we've talked about has been radical. It's been like, okay, well, here's some ways that you can improve onboarding, and here's some suggestions of how you could get more familiar with the code. What do you think is going on that like you're not feeling motivated and confident to push that sort of thing forward?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So I think this is the segment about my childhood trauma or something like that. I don't know. I'm just making. No, I don't have any. I don't. Well, at least I'm not aware of them.
That means you definitely have them.
Yeah, it's like sometimes you wake up and you're like, what is the purpose of life? No, I mean, so I guess the thing that attracted me was being able to, as a builder, I've built different things. And I remember in the initial stages of building was extremely hard because you could try to create something, you have a brilliant idea, and then you start talking to people, right? And I think that's already like somewhat of a leap, right? For a lot of builders, they just want to build, right? And so when I try to do quote unquote the right thing, there's always this sort of unclear picture that initially your idea was very clear, and then you start talking to people and they're not really buying your idea or your app idea or your prototype, and you kind of have to kind of meander through different stages, and it's really expensive, right, that time. So the idea of seeing something, an app that's already somewhat SEO optimized, you could find apps that people are just not, they just don't have the time to maintain. It feels like a good opportunity with, and you've talked about this, right? And that's why, well, Chris, you sold your app to someone who wants to take it to the next level. So I think that there's a certain level of interest from me on not having to go through that, well, brilliant idea, but spending all time trying to pivot around, and in the end, it may not be even that great of an idea, right? After several pivots. So, yeah, just trying to look for opportunities like that. And I ended up on SurveyBot, and I was pretty excited when I acquired it because I thought, wow, this is something that I thought would be really difficult to acquire. Because most of the stuff you see, either they're like super overpriced, at least when I was doing the vetting process, they're either like the multiples are pretty crazy, or they don't have any revenue, right? They're just sort of like a toy side project someone built. So ended up with SurveyBot. I thought, oh, just the thing is, well, there's relatively low risk, even if this doesn't work out. I mean, it's not going to be a huge loss. We can take a second shot, a third shot, but the thing is, like, once you get into it, I think I had some surprises in terms of thinking that, oh, if I'm trying to grow something, it will be just the same way as if I build it from scratch. But it's different. Even talking to, like, even trying to figure out Facebook Workplace, like what is that? Who is using it? Like, who are interested in it? It feels not as easy as I initially anticipated. So I think those are the surprises that I'm trying to get out of that. And I'm also working solo. That has its benefits, but also drawbacks as well. Yeah, so there's a lot of self-talk, a lot of self-sabotage happening every single day that I'm trying to right now trying to get rid of.
Yeah, that's rough. I mean, that's thanks for the truthful, like honest accounting of like the difficulties. Like, yeah, that's good. I think more people need to hear about it. Like, it's not all super easy app building. Yeah. I don't want to give you more homework, but 2 books that helped me with sort of self-sabotage and self-talk and stuff are The War of Art. That's one of them.
Yep.
Okay. And The Artist's Way is another one. And the biggest thing I got out of The Artist's Way was called Daily Pages. And so that's why, like we talked about this composition notebook I have all the time. So whenever I'm feeling stuck, I just force myself to longhand write out 3 pages. And it doesn't matter what I write. It just has to be 3 pages. And by the end of it, I always feel better. Like I always am more motivated and I have more, like focus. So maybe try that. Just longhand write out 3 pages about anything.
I do the same thing, but talking to myself in a auto dictation app on long walks. It works really well. And it's about 3 pages, and then I'm unstuck and just like feeling better about life in general. I was most struck by the like you came to this with this idea that buying a product with marketing in place and with users coming in would fix the problems of trying to build SaaS from scratch, which is, I think, an idea that I have had maybe up until this conversation, but like the reality of it is there are still problems in that, and one of those problems is you're not as familiar with the code base and it's harder to make changes, and you're not as familiar with why things were built in the way that they were built and who the people are that are using them, which makes perfect sense. Is just not something I was thinking of. I'm reminded of like this grass is greener mentality that I think, like Chris and I, when we came away from MicroConf, we both had several conversations where we were like, oh man, I just talked to this guy who's making iPhone apps, and he's making $1 million a year. What are we doing? We should be making iPhone games instead. But everything comes with its own set of challenges, and I think the meta game is just figuring out how to push forward no matter what the challenge is. What I'm hearing, I think my main takeaway from this conversation is the core thing that would help you move forward is better managing the internal game, doing things like morning pages, just like consistently pushing forward, and then the business strategy, once you get in a better headspace, is do things that are going to be improving onboarding and focus on the niche of what customers need, who are these businesses conducting employee surveys. Does that sound about right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's all, I would say 99% in my own head. Yeah.
Arguably,
everything is 100% in your head.
The world is just a simulation you create with your mind. All right. Well, we're after an hour. So is there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we wrapped up?
No, that's it. Thanks for your time.
Thanks for being on. It's been cool. Chris, that's all I got.
That's all I got too.
Then I'll see you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.